What's going on, guys? Comes here back again on another video. We're going to be doing another tier ranking list. You guys seem to like the last one that we did. Of course, we went ahead and ranked all the MLB home uniforms. That is up in the top right hand corner, and this one, it's gonna be even better, at least in my opinion. This video is going to be very controversial, I can already tell. Basically, we will be taking every single MLB team's best player in my opinion. So that's where the controversy starts, whether or not he's actually the best player on that team. That is, of course, everyone's own opinion. And then we will be ranking them on 5 tiers, being exclusive, literally the best of the best. There's not going to be many players in there at all. Superstar, very just below that tier, not quite on that level. However, elite, still very great players, some of the best all-stars. Great is the next tier, and I was gonna put all-star, but you guys know every team has to have an all-star, so not every all-star is technically one of the great players. And then good, so you guys notice there's no bad or like average players, because in order to be the best player on your team, you have to still be pretty good. So I didn't want to do an A through F, something like that. I didn't want to show disrespect. You guys can see clearly though, there's gonna be some very big contrast, because you have guys like Trout and then, you know, Marlins or Orioles players. But once again, they are all in order from the AL East to the National League West. Starting with the Baltimore Orioles, I went ahead and picked Trey Mancini. Honestly, it was between him and Michael Gibbons. I went with Trey Mancini just because I think a hitter is a little bit more important and he's having a hell of a year. I think we can all agree he's going to fall in the good category. Maybe if he continues this throughout the rest of the year, he could jump up to that great, but I don't think anybody is going to be complaining about me putting Trey Mancini at good. And we got a big one right away. We got Mookie Betts, of course, division rival. You guys know, we got no bias out in these streets. I don't think he's the best player in the MLB, but I do think he's second. I know he's not doing the best right now. Actually, I think he's hitting a lot better as of late, but he is in the exclusive category, which is not going to be home to many players. Mookie Betts, undeniable, one of the top, probably 2 players in the MLB. To be honest, I've really been struggling deciding where to put him between the superstar and elite category. I know he's had some injuries. I know he's not always the most consistent guy in the world. I'm going to say he is a superstar. I believe he is a superstar. I think he's really underrated on defense. And then, of course, you guys know he swings for a lot of power. He will strike out. He won't bat 300, but he really adds a lot to the dish. And I think he is a superstar player. Next, my Tampa Bay Rays, the reigning Cy Young Award winner from the American League, Blake Snell. You might think superstar, but I will put him in the elite category. The reason for this is he really only has had 1 good year so far. Besides last year, he was just an average pitcher. So I do take that into consideration, how long they have been doing it. So always, you know, kind of think about that depending on who I pick for the team's best player and where I rank them. But Blake Snell, he's still an elite pitcher, but not a superstar. Ken 100 Miles Giles for the Toronto Blue Jays. It was honestly between him and Vlad Jr. The reason I didn't pick Vlad Jr. is, although I think he will be the best player on the Blue Jays for sure, he's hitting below 200 right now, has not hit a home run, and that's all we've seen of him in the MLB. So I think it's fair to say Ken Giles, and I think it's also fair to say he's not any higher than good. Next, for the Chicago White Sox, I went ahead and picked Jose Abreu. You might say, where's Tim Anderson? He's hitting 330 this year. Once again, I went with kind of consistency. Last year, Tim Anderson hit like 250, a little bit above 250. Jose Abreu has been consistently the White Sox best player for quite a few years now, but he is just going to fall in the good category. He hasn't had the best season, but I still believe he's the White Sox best player. The Cleveland Indians, who have been struggling a bit this year, the Twins currently leading in that AL Central division. I went with Francisco Lindor. I took him over Corey Kluber, who's been struggling a bit this year, and then over Cupcake Jose Ramirez, who's not really hitting too well at all this year. Francisco Lindor, I would say he's probably elite. He's not a superstar player, but he definitely is an elite talent in the MLB. Despite falling a lot in recent years, Miguel Cabrera, I still believe, is the Detroit Tigers' best player. Barring that doesn't really mean too much besides like Nick Castellanos. They don't really have many proven guys up in the MLB right now. fair to say, I think he is only going to be in the good category, and guys are going to notice this is going to kind of be a catch-all of guys that, you know, they are the best player on their team, but they do not pale in comparison to some of the guys on this list. For the Kansas City Royals, pretty unanimous right here with Merrifield. I personally think he is one of the most underrated players in baseball, having another really good season. I'm going to put him in the great category. He hits for a high average, he's a pretty decent defender, and he's speedy and is kind of a utility guy as well. So he is really versatile. I think he is a gem in Kansas City, and I think he's, you know, a perennial all-star, and not just because they have to have one. Minnesota Twins, this is going to be controversial. I went with Nelson Cruz over guys like Eddie Rosario and Jose Barrios. The reason for that being is I think the boomstick is a little bit more important than Jose Barrios, and he's been doing it for longer than him as well. And then Eddie Rosario, he is hitting, he has 13 home runs this year, but he's only hitting about 240. So Nelson Cruz, I'm going to put him in the good category. The reason for that being he's a hell of a hitter, and he gets on base more than Eddie Rosario as well. However, he is a designated hitter. He doesn't do anything in the field, doesn't even play defensively, so that's kind of why he falls in the good. Mike Trout. Do I really have to say much more? The best player in baseball unanimously. I know some people might try to argue that it's Mookie. No. Mike Trout is still the best player in baseball, plain and simple. There should not have to be any words I have to say about that pick. Matt Chapman, I picked for the best player in Oakland above Blake Treinen. I think pretty much everybody can agree with that. I'm going to put him in the great category. The reason for that being is I know he's one of the best defenders in baseball, and he has a pretty good bat as well. But if you look at guys like Snell and Francisco Lindor, who I have above them, I do not think is better than them. So he's going to fall in the great category. That's not a bad thing. That's still an all-star and a pretty damn good one as well. And trust me, he's going to move on this list as time goes on. Seattle Mariners gutted the roster a lot last year. They lost Edwin Diaz, they lost Cano, they lost Gene Segura, they lost Nelson Cruz, they lost pretty much everybody. They still got Mitch Haniger, who is a hell of a player, all-star last year. He's gonna fall in the good category. I think most people can agree he should not be any higher. Good defender, pretty good bat, but not quite on the level of Chapman or Whit Merrifield. Texas Rangers, it was between two guys, Elvis Andrus and Joey Gallo. I picked Elvis Andrus over Joey Gallo for the simple fact that he's been better for longer. Gallo's having a really good season this year, hitting about 260 almost, and one of the top in OPS. But Elvis Andrus, like I said, been more consistent. He is just going to fall in the good category. You know, hasn't really even been an all-star in recent years, had some injury issues. Still a hell of a player, not quite on that great category. I'm not gonna lie, I really had to think about the Houston Astros. They just have so many great players. You think of Verlander, Alex Bregman. I went with Jose Altuve, of course, the 2017 MVP. I know he's only hitting like 240 this year and just recently got hurt, but you cannot deny he has been doing it for the longest, and he's still been very effective when he is in the lineup. I'm going to put him as a superstar player. Like I said, he's been one of the best hitters in baseball in recent years. I think he deserves to be up there as a superstar, but obviously not on Trout or Betts level. Freddie Freeman for the Braves, I put him over Acuna. The reason for that being is Acuna just started last year. Freeman has been an all-star for quite a few years now, and he's having a really good season. I'm going to put him in the elite category alongside Snell and Francisco Lindor. I think he's one of the best first basemen in baseball, and elite category shows that. I'm not trying to hate Marlins fans, but come on. Caleb Smith, I went with him. There's like Brian Anderson and Starlin Castro. Caleb Smith is having a really good season, so that's probably why I put him, and Brian Anderson is kind of struggling. He's obviously going to fall in the good category, but come on. Mad Max for the Washington Nationals chose him over Steven Strasburg and Anthony Rendon. Pretty unanimous right there. I don't think there's going to be much controversy over that. He's been struggling a bit this year. His ERA is a little bit higher than it has been in recent years. Still striking out a lot of guys, though. He is going to fall in the superstar category. In my opinion, one of the best, if not the best pitcher throughout the MLB in the last 5 or so years. Pretty obvious he is a superstar. Jacob deGrom for the Mets, pretty obvious he's the best player over there in the Big Apple. Had a really good Cy Young season last year. Unfortunately, the Mets couldn't do a damn thing for him, so he actually had a losing record. Stop caring about win-loss record. Doesn't mean a thing. That being said, I was considering between superstar and elite. I think I'm gonna go superstar because I just look at guys like Blake Snell. I think he is a tier above him because he's been doing it for longer and he's better just in itself. So Jacob deGrom is a superstar pitcher, all stretches of the imagination. This is without a doubt the toughest one on this list. Bryce Harper, the $300+ million man in Philly. This is going to be controversial, not because he's the best player in Philly. That's pretty obvious. It's because I'm going to put him in the elite category. The reason for that being is I know his on-base percentage, it's still crazy. Last year is right up at about 400, and this year I think it's about at 350 or something like that. But his batting average this year, it's like 220. Last year was 240. His slugging percentage is going down each and every year, and his strikeout rate is going up as well. So I still think he's almost in the superstar tier. You can almost flip-flop it either way you would like, but I think he's in the elite category, especially if you look at what he's done this year. Look at the stats, trust me. Javier Baez, I chose him for the Chicago Cubs, mainly over Kris Bryant. That was the only other competition. He is starting to turn it around. Of course, he had a lot of injuries last year, starting to hit a little bit better. Javier Baez, he was an MVP candidate last year, and he's also having a hell of a season so far this year. I'm going to put him in the elite category. He's close to reaching superstar, but I want to see it for a little bit longer. Other than last year, he hasn't been known as this really great hitter, so if he does it this rest of the season, I think he will be on that superstar list, but still very good at the elite tier. I think it is finally time somebody overtook Joey Votto's spot as the best player in Cincinnati. He's hitting like 200 this year. I think Eugenio Suarez is the best player for the Cincinnati Reds. I'm going to put him in the good tier, and the reason for that being is he's not the best defensively, and he's only hitting about 270 this year. I know he hits for a lot of power. Really the good category, I guess I would say the best way to categorize that is the players that wouldn't be all-stars if it weren't for them being their only exclusive all-star on the team. If you look at guys like Andrus, Haniger, Miggy, Jose Abreu, they'll probably all be all-stars this year, but it might just because they have to have an all-star on that team. Christian Yelich, the 2018 NL MVP, he might just go back-to-back. He is going to be in that superstar list. The reason he's not quite with Trout and Betts is simply they've been doing it for a little bit longer. If Christian Yelich has another MVP year, I think he can be raised and join those two as in the exclusive list, but without a shadow of a doubt, a superstar player, one of the best the MLB has to offer. Felipe Vasquez for the Pirates, I chose him mainly over Starling Marte. That was the other competition. I think he's the only reliever that we actually have on this list. I'm going to put him in the great category. The reason for that being is he's one of the best relievers, one of the best closers the MLB has to offer. And once again, the way I categorize the good is those that are only all-stars on their team because they have to have one. If you put Felipe Vasquez on, for example, the Astros, where they already are going to have a lot more than one all-star, he's still going to be an all-star right there. So one of the best relievers in baseball. He's a great player. New digs for Paul Goldschmidt, the best player in St. Louis. I think that is pretty obvious right there. I'm going to call him an elite player. I know he's been a little on and off this year. He recently hit his first home run since the end of April, I do believe, but he has still been hitting for contact, getting on base. Still a very good hitter and a good defender as well. He's an elite star in the MLB. David Peralta for the D-backs. I chose him over Greinke. This one was really close. I was considering picking Greinke, but I think David Peralta is going to be there just above him. It's really debatable. You can flip between those two. I'm going to put him in the great category. He had a really nice season last year, and he's doing pretty well to start off this season as well, hitting about 320 in a slug, about at 560. So he's having a nice season, and he's going to be in the great category because I think both him and Greinke could be all-stars in Arizona. And I think he is a tier above all the rest of those guys in the good tier. Nolan Arenado of the Rockies, pretty obvious choice for their best player. By all means, he is a superstar in the MLB. One of the best defenders over at third base. Very good hitter as well. No, it's not the Coors effect. I don't want to hear it. Look at the stats. Look at his away stats. He still hits very well. He's definitely a superstar. One of the best the MLB has to offer. Is this controversial? Cody Bellinger, the best player for the Dodgers. Some might say it's Jansen, some might say it's Kershaw. I personally think it's Cody Bellinger. Maybe it's just biased because he's been so damn good this year, but he is going to fall in the elite category towards the higher end. The reason he's not a superstar is simply he's been tremendous. Probably the best player in the MLB so far this year. However, he hasn't been doing that the last 2 years, and he struggled a bit compared to his rookie year last year and his sophomore year. So he's an elite talent. If he continues this, which it's going to be hard, but even if he slips a little bit, he's probably going to be a superstar come next year. Manny Machado, the other big free agent in the offseason, signing with the San Diego Padres. He's still a hell of a talent. I'm going to put him alongside free agent buddy Bryce Harper in the elite tier. I don't think he's quite a superstar. Once again, very great player. Good on defense, good at hitting. However, I don't think he's quite alongside those names at the superstar level. And finally, for the San Francisco Giants, we picked Buster Posey over Madison Bumgarner. The reason is because Bumgarner's had injury issues, which is ironic because I know Buster Posey has in recent years too, but I think he is the best player. He is going to fall in the great category, and I know you might say, shouldn't he maybe be in the good tier? No, I do not think so. Despite he has slipped a little bit in recent years, he is still one of the best catchers in baseball, and if you put him on any team, he's probably going to be better than the catcher they have, and he would be an all-star for sure. He's a great player. But I think that is going to do it for this video. I know it's going to spark some controversy in the comments, and I expect that. Some people might think Aaron Judge, not a superstar, only elite, and then Harper, not elite, probably a superstar. Honestly, I think you could flip either of those. Judge could be a superstar or elite, and likewise for Bryce Harper. Like I said, let me know down below in the comment section. Did I miss somebody, the best player on one of the teams? Did I get that wrong? Did I get some of the rankings wrong? Let me know down below in the comment section. Glad to hear that as well. I know these are usually fun. They're meant to be fun. I had a blast creating it. And if you guys want to see another tier ranking list for MLB, let me know by leaving a like down below. Show your support. And yeah, hope you guys have a great rest of the day. And there you go. I'm Zodi.